Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty end with March losses after a last-hour recovery. Mid-caps and small-caps see some wild swings. IT stocks buck the downtrend. A promoter group entity at Bharti Airtel pairs nearly 1% stake in the company for 8,500 crore rupees. Another promoter entity along with marquee global and domestic investors pick up the stake. Tesla posts job offerings on its LinkedIn profile for 13 positions in India days after Elon Musk's meeting with Prime Minister Modi in DC. Sources say the EV maker is likely to enter India with a low-cost model, which would be launched in the US later this year. Opposition leader Rahul Gandhi protests the appointment of Ganesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner, says it's disrespectful and discourteous to make a midnight decision when a case is pending before the Supreme Court. The apex court will hear a petition filed by the Association for Democratic Reforms tomorrow. The US and Russia begin talks in Saudi Arabia to end the Ukraine conflict, but neither Ukraine nor Europe get a seat at the table. Zelensky warns his country will not abide by any peace deal made without Ukrainian representation. A Delta Air passenger jet crashes and flips on landing at the Toronto airport. All 80 people on board evacuated, 18 people injured, 2 in critical condition. Well, let's start with the market action. We saw a late recovery, which wiped out the losses on the Lal Street today, but the Sensex and the Nifty still closing in the red. The Nifty, though, managing to close at 22,945, flat, down about 14 points. The Sensex coming off its lows, closing 29 points lower. The mid-cap index was up 600 points from the day's low, but the small caps continue to sell off, with that index down by about 170-odd points. That's the Nifty Bank. Down about 170-odd points today. Prashant standing by now to wrap up the market action for us. Coming off their intraday lows, Prashant, but nevertheless, the weakness continues.
I mean, the silver lining was that we did not fall that much and it was only mildly lower, if that. So the Nifty is up on your screen. From the lows of the day, there was a 100-point recovery. The Nifty Bank also recovered 300 points from the day's absolute lowest levels. Mid-cap index, flattish close, decent recovery, but no such luck for the small-cap index, which ends down about 1.6, 1.7%. And that's the reason why market breadth declines to advances were still steeply in favor of what was down today. Now, the large caps and where there was some activity, and I'll start for a change with what was up. So you had NTPC, Tech Mahindra and Wipro, which stood out as stocks which looked up. On the losing side, IndusInd Bank, of course, has been dilly-dallying, no clear direction, but it's come off the lows and it's not making fresh ones. Trent and Bharat Electronics is the other one which participated on the downside. Now, broader markets, I'll start with what was down. Zentech, big cut, once again, 10%. Turning out to be a pretty tough week for this. RateGain is another one, about 18% gone in 2 days now. That's basically this week. Swan Energy, Goldium is another lab-grown diamond company, had rallied quite hard to about 600 levels. And now, of course, is seeing corrections. Wellspun Enterprises, EMS Limited, All Cargo are some of the other names which come up on the radar. In the broader market, what was up, these IT companies, Persistent, LTI Mindtree, some of the MNC names like Glaxo, Gillette was up. And these are, by the way, some of the top volume-led gainers today. The consumer names, Swiggy, Phoenix Limited, Senco, and then, of course, you had names like NLC India, Triveni Turbine, and Thermax, which also saw some recoveries. But these are just recoveries after what have been extremely sharp cuts. We'll have, of course, US market for company tonight, which was absent yesterday. So more cues, more commentary, which we will wake up to. But it's, taking each day at a time. The market, of course, has been sold very, very aggressively. And people have been waiting for that bounce, even if fleeting, a bit of a bounce here. Back to you.
All right, Prashant, many thanks. That was the stock market action. The rupee weakened marginally against the US dollar. It depreciated by 7 paise against the greenback, tracking most Asian currencies. The dollar index continues to gather strength after US President Trump's tariff threats. India's 10-year bond yields remained largely steady in trade today. And gold extending gains as President Trump's tariff plans fueled safe haven demand. Significant buying by central banks has also supported gold prices. In fact, prices surging in India. But it's not just physical gold. More investors are betting on paper gold as an investment as well. Data shows that investments in gold ETFs are on the rise, while demand for traditional jewellery has been softening. Shivani standing by with more. Shivani.
India has been a country that loves gold, and that too in its physical form. But the gold market in India is seeing a shift towards financialization. This is clear from the numbers. Let's take a look at the data. Jewelry demand in India has seen a decline over the past 3 years. According to the World Gold Council, in 2021, demand was at 610 metric tons, but it dropped to 600 metric tons in 2022 and further to 575 metric tons in 2023. In 2024, the demand fell further to 563 metric tons. That's a 7% drop compared to 2022. This indicates a shift away from ornamental gold as consumers become more price sensitive amid rising gold prices. Now, if we look at the bars and coins, traditional investment gold is still holding some interest. In 2023, demand for bars and coins increased by nearly 7% with further jump of 29% in 2024. But their growth has been overshadowed by financial gold products like gold ETFs. Speaking of which, gold ETFs are the real star here. In 2024, they've experienced a staggering 216% increase in inflows, reaching over 9,200 crore rupees. This marks a huge shift towards paper gold as investors increasingly prefer these financial gold products over physical assets. Now, this is happening for various reasons. Important among them are liquidity issues, ease of purchase of ETFs on exchanges, favorable taxation, and also the convenience of storage of digital gold. So all of this is leading to Indians to move away from physical gold towards financial gold. Back to you.
All right, Shivani, many thanks. Shares of Bharti Airtel declining in trade after stake worth 8,500 crore rupees changed hands through multiple block deals. The telecom company said that a promoter entity called Indian Continent Investment sold 0.8% of its stake. Another promoter entity was among the buyers, which also included marquee global and domestic investors. Sudarshan is standing by with more on the contours of this deal. Sud.
So first about the deal block deals, 5.1 crore shares worth rupees 8,485 crore changed hands, and that happened in block deal window. So who was the seller? Promoter entity, that is Indian Continent Investments, which is a company of Mittal family, has sold 0.84% stake. Now who was the buyer? Bharti Telecom, which is a joint venture of Mittal family and Singtel, have bought 24% of that 0.84%. That comes to 1.24 crore shares. Now, what was the reasoning of Bharti Telecom buying in the block deals? Company says Bharti Telecom's share buy has helped allocation to only key long-only names, and key long-only names are both global and domestic. And then what happens to shareholding post these block deals? Bharti Telecom, which is JV between Mittal family and Singtel, now it holds around 40.47% stake. Singtel via its subsidiary Pastel holds 9.50% stake, and ICIL, that is India Continent Investments, now its holding comes down to 2.47%. Remember, few months ago, both Singtel and Sunil Bharti Mittal had announced that at the end of any strategic announcements or deals that happen over the next few months, both Singtel and Mittal family want to have a similar shareholding in Bharti Airtel. At the end, stock closed with minor cuts today.
Well, that's Bharti Airtel. So many thanks for joining us. In earnings, ABB India has reported a strong set of numbers for Q4, beating street estimates on all fronts. The company reported a 56% jump in net profit on an annual basis, revenue up 22%, making this the highest quarterly jump in the last 5 years. Just 5 days after Prime Minister Modi met Elon Musk in Washington, Tesla has begun its recruitment drive in India. The company has posted 13 job openings online, covering both customer-facing and operational positions. Parikshit Luthra standing by with more details. Parikshit, Elon Musk has been exploring the India market for a bit, and it's restarting the process of hiring in India, but at this moment only to kickstart retail operations.
That's right. If we look at all the 13 roles that have been advertised on the company's career page and also the LinkedIn page, it is for a store manager, a service advisor, a service technician, a customer engagement specialist, an operations delivery specialist. So all of this points out to retail operations only. And this is something that we have been reporting on over the last few weeks. The Tesla is actually gearing up for starting retail operations in India this year. They've been scouting for locations across different metros to start company-owned showrooms. That means to bring electric cars into India from either Germany, where their manufacturing plant is, or from China, Shanghai in China, and sell them in India before they start any kind of manufacturing operations. And somehow that seems to be getting shape. But let's also point out to our viewers that since 2020, Tesla and Elon Musk have had an on and off relationship with India. In 2020, he said that in 2021, he'll definitely come to India. In 2021, he also tweeted to say that India is a very high tariff jurisdiction and the tariffs on electric cars are the highest anywhere in the world. And this is a challenge for the company. In 2024, he was all set to come to India but cancelled his plans. He had also recruited an India team earlier between 2020 and 2024, which had a charging head of HR, a head of marketing, a head of government affairs. But all those people have actually quit the company over the years and they've joined different firms. So this in a way restarts the entire hiring process. We are told that he is very keen on India, but whether he will manufacture in India, that remains to be seen. India is on the cusp of launching guidelines for the scheme for promotion of manufacturing electric cars in India, which would give Elon Musk a concessional 15% duty as opposed to 100%. But he'll have to make a commitment of $500 million towards manufacturing in India. Will he make that commitment, or would he prefer to only sell? That remains to be seen. But what we do know is that he had a very important one-hour-long meeting with the Prime Minister where they discussed everything from electric mobility to space cooperation.
Yes, we'll have to see if he does decide to make in India or just sell in India. Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. JK Tyre Industries has informed the stock exchanges that Anuj Kathuria, its president for India operations, has resigned, citing personal reasons, and has been relieved from services of the company. Kathuria's resignation comes days after a complainant filed an FIR against him under various sections of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The sections include those that criminalize sexual intercourse obtained by deceit and deals with deceiving a woman into believing she's legally married to him. Now, the government has signed an agreement with Reliance New Energy Battery under a PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cell on the 17th of February. The agreement will award the company a 10 gigawatt-hour ACC capacity. The ministry has said this agreement will make the company eligible to receive incentives worth 18,100 crore rupees. A CNBC-TV18 analysis has found that share price multiples of life insurance companies have not kept pace with the strong growth in their embedded value. What is the cause of this derating in valuations? Yash is standing by with the answer to that question and more. Yash.
Well, Shireen, through these few numbers from the last about 4.5 years tied up in this piece, we've intend to demonstrate what has been the growth in embedded value for life insurance companies. Also, what has been the growth in the market capitalization for these life insurers and how a function of these two, that is price to embedded value, reacted to that growth. To start with the embedded value itself, which has grown at a CAGR of about 8 to 23% when compounded over the previous 4.5 years between FY20 to H1 FY25 for listed life insurers. HDFC Life showing the strongest CAGR of 23%, followed by Max Financial at 21%, followed by ICICI Pru and SBI Life at 16.6 and 6%. LIC being the slowest, but still growing at about 8.4%. On the other hand, when compounded over the last 1.5 years, LIC has seen the strongest jump in its market cap, growing at a CAGR of 53%. When compounded over the last 4.5 years, Max Financial's market cap grew at a CAGR of 36%, followed by SBI Life at 27%, ICICI Pru at 19%, HDFC Life at 13%. Now, what we've done is we've spoken about two things, embedded value and the market cap. Now, let's look at the function of these two things, and that's how life insurance companies get valued. That is on the basis of price to embedded value. And the big question here is that with the strong growth in the embedded value, has the multiple for these insurance companies responded in a similar fashion? The answer is an emphatic no. Look at how the price to embedded multiple has moved between FY21 to FY26 estimated figures. The biggest derating has come for HDFC Life from 4.8 times in FY21 to 2.1 times for FY26 estimates. This despite HDFC Life witnessing the strongest growth in its embedded value. Now, price to embedded value for all listed life insurance companies except for LIC have gotten derated. Now, if valuations are supportive, then what's really coming in the way of the share price growth? We spoke to a few analysts on this particular issue, and there are three big reasons which they point out. The first one is the fear of regulatory intervention, either from the government or the regulator. We saw so many regulatory interventions coming in the last 1.5 years itself. The second reason is how the product mix for various life insurance companies have turned very ULIP heavy, which has led to a significant deterioration in the margins for these insurance companies. Finally, the problem has also been the Indian insurance market, which is not growing at all. Penetration, density, both staying at the same point for a very long time. And out of that stagnant market also, unlisted players are taking large part of market share, which is again becoming a negative for the listed life insurance companies.
Yash, many thanks for joining us. We will head into a break, but up next, opposition leader Rahul Gandhi protests the appointment of Ganesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner, says it's disrespectful and discourteous to make a midnight decision when a case is pending before the Supreme Court. That and more when we return. The big national story: leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, member of the selection panel, Rahul Gandhi, is protesting the appointment of the new Chief Election Commissioner. Late last night, the government appointed current Election Commissioner R. Ganesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner. The Chief Secretary of Haryana, Vivek Joshi, was also appointed as an Election Commissioner. The appointments came hours after a meeting of the high-level selection committee led by the Prime Minister. The committee also comprises of the Home Minister Amit Shah and the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi. This marks the first time a selection panel was involved in picking India's top election watchdog. The government passed a law in 2023 changing the appointment process and giving powers to this high-level committee. At the meeting, Rahul Gandhi opposed the appointment. He's now made the dissent note he submitted on the matter public. In the note, Rahul Gandhi said it is disrespectful and discourteous to make a midnight decision when the selection process is being challenged before the Supreme Court. Rahul Gandhi argued that the composition of the committee is tilted in favour of the government and a case will be heard by the Supreme Court within 48 hours. But his dissent was overruled and the government went ahead with the appointment. The Association for Democratic Reforms moved the Supreme Court today opposing the appointment. The apex court has listed the case to be heard tomorrow. Ashmit is standing by with more. Ashmit, take us through what happened in court today and give us a quick background to this matter.
Well, allow me to bring in some context here. In March of 2023 is when the Supreme Court had frowned on the fact that there is no law that governs appointments to the Election Commission, and at the time had appointed a temporary selection panel comprising of the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition and the CJI, the Chief Justice of India. This was meant to be temporary. Now, subsequently, later that year, in December of 2023, the Centre passed a fresh law which replaced the CJI with a Union Cabinet Minister in the selection panel, which is what prompted a whole host of challenges being filed here before the apex court, which is what prompted these very same questions to come to light with the appointment of Ganesh Kumar as the new Chief Election Commissioner. The question that was raised first by Rahul Gandhi, then by the petitioners here before the apex court, is that why is this appointment being rushed through? The question that Rahul Gandhi had raised as a part of his dissent note is that the Supreme Court is already seized of the matter. The Supreme Court is already hearing this case. The matter is sub judice, and if that is the case, why rush through this appointment? Why not wait for the Supreme Court to hear and decide this case? Finally, this was the very same submission that was made this morning by the Association for Democratic Reforms. They said that the Supreme Court judgment is being made a mockery of, that constitutional norms are being violated, and that there is no independence as far as this new selection panel is concerned, and therefore there is an urgent requirement for intervention for hearing by the Supreme Court. So importantly, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear this case. Tomorrow will be a critical day where the Supreme Court will look to give guidance on what happens with respect to this new selection panel, what happens in the interim, and what happens by when the Supreme Court will finally hear and decide this case.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us and staying with action in court. The Supreme Court has granted interim relief to podcaster Ranveer Alabadia after his controversial comments on the show India's Got Latent. The court has granted a stay order on his arrest and directed that Alabadia seek protection from the Mumbai police against death threats. However, the apex court tore into Alabadia for his comments, calling it shameful and perverse. The court added that such behaviour must be condemned. The government has extended Niti Aayog CEO BVR Subramaniam's term by 1 year. His initial term was slated to end on the 24th of February. Subramaniam joined the Niti Aayog in 2023. Prior to that, he served as the Commerce Secretary and also as the Chief Secretary of Jammu and Kashmir. In global news, the US and Russia begin talks in Saudi Arabia to end the Ukraine war without any representation from Ukraine or Europe. Ukrainian President Zelensky has warned that his country will not abide by any peace deal made without Ukrainian representation. After attending an emergency meeting with European leaders in Paris, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that the US must provide security commitments to Ukraine to ensure lasting peace in Ukraine.
There must be a US backstop, because a US security guarantee is the only way to effectively deter Russia from attacking Ukraine again. And I've been clear today, Britain will take a leading responsibility, as we always have, because Ukraine must have a secure future, Europe must have a secure future, Britain must have a secure future, and democratic values must prevail.
Keir Starmer there. A Delta Air passenger jet crashed and turned upside down on the runway at Canada's Toronto airport while attempting to land. All 80 passengers on board were evacuated. 18 passengers injured, 2 are in critical condition.
A Delta Airlines plane flipped upside down while landing in Toronto on Monday. Officials say over a dozen people were injured on board, 3 of them critically, including a child. However, there were no fatalities in the crash. The plane first took off from Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, and after an 86-minute flight, came to rest belly up on the snowy tarmac at Toronto's airport. Audio from air traffic control paints a picture of what arriving fire crews first saw.
Just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there. Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft there's upside down and burning.
Delta said a CRJ-900 aircraft operated by its Endeavour Air subsidiary was involved in a single aircraft accident with 76 passengers and 4 crew aboard. The CRJ-900 jet is made by Canada's Bombardier and powered by GE Aerospace engines. Canada says it would investigate the cause of the crash, which is not yet known. The incident came amid windy weather following a snowstorm. The airport had said earlier on Monday it was dealing with high winds and frigid temperatures. However, on Monday evening, Toronto Pearson Fire Chief Todd Aiken had this to say about runway conditions.
This is an active investigation. It's very early on. It's really important that we do not speculate. What we can say is the runway was dry and there was no crosswind conditions.
The crash in Canada follows other recent air travel incidents in North America. In late January, at least 7 people died when a medical transport plane crashed in Philadelphia. And days before that, an Army helicopter collided with a passenger jet in Washington, D.C., killing 67 people.
Well, another aircraft tragedy there, this time in Canada. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. More news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.